So
Hey, what's up, man?
it's good. It's doing a health discussion today.
Yeah, but it's also like I'm just inviting like Kara wanted to
To the
potentially
human
talk.
design crew.
Yeah, like I just opened it up to them.
Okay, good. I was confused whether it was like a human design stretching class. So
No.
I've been like, now that is different.
We will, I mean, eventually we'll get there, right? Um,
I know human design is already a stretch, so
yeah, facts.
halfway there.
Yeah. Have you been doing the human design stuff? Have you been using that?
Bro, it is so convoluted. All I want is, I'll be honest with you, yes, to an extent, because my partner is into that, and some of my other partners too, and she actually found that since I'm in a polyamorous situation, other partners are also hermits, which is kind of funny.
Hmm.
And there's all these other, yeah, I think also manifestor generators. I forget who somebody was different. So there were like common traits that were very interesting to see that had that in common.
What's so like thing about those systems is in general, they're trying to get you to be in a higher alignment with yourself, like a higher vibration to show you like a pathway towards identifying towards a higher vibration. A lot of people don't even know what that looks like. Some people just naturally attune to it, but it's like a guide map. It's a roadmap. It's a very like almost technical way of looking at it because it ties into spirituality and all that. Hi, Kara. You're muted, by the way.
Okay, there. All
Hey
right.
everyone, how are you all?
Doing well, doing well. Connor, I don't think you've met Kara before. Kara, meet Connor. Kara's very, very much into human design. One of the first people I met that kind of opened up my world.
My God, I still have Kara's notes on my chart from way back in the day saved in my Notion.
Nice.
Yeah. So thank you, Kara.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I was listening. I almost finished it. I've been super busy the last couple days, but I have like maybe 20 minutes left. But I feel like I've the global cycles thing with Ra that you
Yeah.
sent. I've heard excerpts of that or just like little snippets of it elsewhere. Just like in reels and stuff, him talking about where we're at. And it's funny because I don't think this was like 10 years ago or something, right? When he was giving this speech. And it's like all this stuff is same shit is happening. Same exact stuff is still going on. I mean, who knows when it'll all change officially, but it's been like coming to a precipice for a while now. The stuff he was talking about specifically is like doctors and health and like the environment and how we're basically being poisoned for like a very long time, and it's shifting the balance of our hormones, which is shifting the balance of our spirituality in like all these ways. And we've seen it manifest and we've seen it reflect in our society and our culture and our soil, and it's all one. I've been listening to Zach Bush describe it, and the way he connects the actual science of mitochondria to what's happening at a societal level is so fascinating. He's just like he has it on point. He has the exact terminology to describe it. He literally can like talk about how like the transgender movement and how it's detaching from like spirituality and the divine masculine and feminine because of mitochondrial health and like the energy of it and how we're producing energy and how we're not producing energy and how it's affecting hormones, all that stuff. So just thought I'd share that. But feel free to chat, Kara. I don't know. Well, this isn't like organized specifically anyway. If you want to take the stage and share, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, no, I've more just I feel like the reason I put it out there is because some of these things I've come to like 10 years ago as well.
Mhm.
But to hear them in this system and like I just heard this audio, like I have thousands of audios from Raw, so I filter through like what's relevant to me, what am I looking for. It's
Mhm.
very personalized when I'm sorting through the information. But when I come to some of the information, it feels very collective. And then it feels like my bridge is not within me, if that makes sense. Like
What do you mean
I'm
by
always
collective?
like relevant to everyone as opposed to relevant to just me. Like I had a sense that, like, I'm sure many of you have had conversations about all of maybe parts of or all of the things that were contained in this particular lecture. I find it fascinating that, like, he was talking about these things in the 90s and we're, in 2020, like
30
in a
years later.
completely different timeline.
Yeah.
I'm most struck by the conversations around IT. I mean, I have an IT job, so I see where we're going. I work for the biggest, one of the biggest food companies in the world. So I just can see that the direction of food is very much going in the direction of being taken out of the hands of human beings. It's already been that way, but even more so as we move forward. Um, and so I guess I'm actually just looking for other people's reflections on, like, some of these things, and maybe even what diversity have you heard around these topics? Like, I think the science aspect, and then too, like, seeing where we are now in the collective, even seeing, like, the transition in our presidency and some of the new energy that's coming in there. Like,
Mm.
I kind of feel like my finger is on the pulse of these things. Like, I can sense them, and then I also see them through this lens. So it's kind of like, I actually think the last 10 minutes, I think you could cut out most of this lecture and only listen to the
Damn.
last 10 minutes, and it's the most
Yeah.
profound. I
Yeah.
probably could have referenced that first. Honestly, like, if you literally just listen to the last 20 minutes of
I was
it,
so close.
it kind of really, like, lands in this way where the way I experience it is, and I've seen this thread in multiple spaces. Like, I've seen it in human design, I've seen it in Gene Keys, but I've also seen it in anthroposophy, which is, like, I brought my kids up in Waldorf education, which was Rudolf Steiner, which is also a very esoteric tradition. And I see a lot of the connections between Richard and Ra, and also a lot of Rudolf Steiner's teachings, which was, connected to the New Age and spirituality and all of these diverse topics. But for me, I'm, like, really curious because I guess I'm looking for a bridge, so to speak, in um, where is the information coming back, and, like, where are people talking about these things other than on, like, podcasts, to kind of bridge the science. So I have never heard of Zach Bush, I don't
Oh,
think.
yeah, highly recommend. He's one of the top like microbiologists in the world. He focuses on soil microbiology, but also gut. He has his own company called Ion. He does a lot of like what's the word I'm looking for? Nonprofit work. He in his own like experience throughout his life has been very dove in very deep into endocrinology, but also into like health in terms of life and death. So he's been in the Philippines experiencing and witnessing over 1,000 births. He's been in hospitals witnessing over 1,000 deaths. Like he's seen a lot of it and been experienced a part of a lot of it. So he has this like very beautiful way of describing it and connecting it all together. I'll send you like one of his more recent podcasts because he talks about spirituality in this way and the micro and macrocosms of like what's happening at a cellular level with death, with life, with isolation, with energy, with balance and hormones. He really like does a great job like weaving his words to like paint this beautiful picture. Um, that's like, I mean, I've been into that. I've been listening to him for a while now. Uh, I've probably shared it with you, Wiggs, maybe you, Kara. There's like a
That's super deep.
he
Zach
has
Bush
the whole
is
so he has a whole philosophy and thought process around bacteria, viruses, carbon dioxide, oxygen, like what takes up biomass in our on our Earth. And the amount of like bacteria and viruses is literally like 1 billion times everything else in terms of plant matter and flora, in terms of human beings, in terms of material. It's mostly bacteria, it's mostly viruses. And within like what a virus is not what society says it is. It's like he has his own definition for viruses, for sickness, for bacteria, for all this stuff. A virus is like in terms of DNA, it's what's the word he used? It's like the potential of something, the potential of new life. That usually gets triggered by a series of events or chemical reactions. So a virus is an expression of DNA in some way, and it's never bad. It's never thought of to be bad because it forms new life. The way viruses like happen within the human genome, if they're treated naturally and allowed to do run their course, create new life within them. So, like when you have a virus, you're getting rid of things and you're bringing in new things. That's all considered part of the same thing. He doesn't separate it or consolidate it. So, like the way he talks about it on a more macro scale, when dinosaurs and like fauna and flora were being were starting to evolve was through viruses, through increases of pressure in carbon dioxide hitting the planet, warming and cooling. And this pressure literally like was going like this on the soil until it broke. And then through the grass came flowers for like the first time ever. This was like before any animals. It was all grass everywhere. And then it was like all this pressure came down and forced something to actually evolve beyond itself. It had the potential in it, but it needed pressure. So like this is what's happening to human beings constantly through the use of, or not the use of, but through the effects of radiation, vibration, light, pressure, all of it. So like we're transforming constantly, and we're transforming based on what's happening to our soil, what's happening to our environment. So this pressure is like creating society. It's creating all these like micro societal impacts, like certain movements, like ideologies, like political systems in general. And it's like the spiritual pressure, the social pressure, all is meant to move us forward and make us like evolve. Uh, I don't see it as a bad thing ever. It's always just a reflection in a mirror. It's just,
Yeah, interesting. I'll have to look up
yeah, go ahead.
I'll have to look up Zach Bush. I think for me, like what was contained in this was the mutation is essentially within us. And for me, like I love everything existential. So when I was thinking about this, I was really thinking about like, okay, like Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, Homo sapien, and whatever the next chapter of that is. Um, but what I really take away from all of this knowledge is like just how important it is to be human. And like, I think I'm going to be creating more events just like straight up like around humanness, just from the energy of connection and like the absolute enjoyment of life. Like the last 10 minutes, I don't know who heard the last 10 minutes, but he literally talks about the Titanic and like how they play the music going out and how like we're literally just
Oh,
here
like
to like
on the boat, you mean?
yeah, that we're literally just here to like play the music and like enjoy the movie, like literally the movie of life. And I feel like I've just been so resonating to that idea for a really long time. So to hear it reflected in this conversation and to have been desiring to do a lot of work around just like artistic experiences and musical experiences and collaborative experiences that just bring people together, like that's been the direction that I've been going, which I can see in a lot of my chart, like anyway, like I can just see about myself. And so I feel like this particular lecture really like caught my attention for some reason. And yeah, it just the different points that he really explained about the energy that we're currently in and also the energy that we're moving into and also how it includes like our money systems. I thought all of that was really fascinating. And so, yeah, I just appreciate your reflections and anything else anyone has to share on it too,
The money
or
system.
anything else.
It's funny, you mentioned the money systems because Zach Bush was talking about that in a recent podcast, like in the last like month and a half. How like the reason why his companies actually aren't doing well is because they're not meant to be part of the system that currently exists. Like they've been fizzling out, and the people within them have been fizzling out, or like not have the resources to like go anywhere because the job is already done, kind of. So it's like they've created the whatever they created and they give it out, and then that's it's philanthropic in a way, which is like what a lot of Raw and Richard talk about how like that's kind of the future of business is just giving. Um, but he knows that like he talks about just like how it's it's not going to change that way unless the system changes that way fully. Like we're not going to change because we're still living in a certain frequency around business and money. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what the future of that looks like. AI is crazy. Bitcoin is crypto is all crazy. I think it's we're going into an incredibly interesting future in the next 5 years in terms of money. We'll see what happens. Um, I'm definitely going to still try and tap into like that style of business where I'm going to work and do things regardless of the money because I enjoy them and because I'm trying to give back in some way. Um, so as long as I can continue to do that, I'm cool with like whatever I make, honestly. Uh, the rest of it's like just fun.
Yeah, thank you. If you can send me, I'm gonna look up Zach Bush. I'm sure he'll come up really easily. I'm
Hmm.
assuming. What's the podcast?
So there's which one do you want to know about? The more recent one or the like more talking about soil, microbiology, plants, all that stuff?
Actually, both.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Okay, so there's one with Amelia Ortez that's pretty good. Let's see, hold on. Bush. I have like a bunch. I can definitely send them to you. Podcasts and shows. Bush. So the recent one was The Science of Surrender, Mitochondria, and Being Made of Light with Zach Bush, MD. It's with this woman, Plenty, with Kate Northrup. And then the other ones I would look at would be Building the New Earth. He has a really good like monologue in that one where he just lets the guy talk for like an hour straight and he just kind of goes off. Um, and then there might be one more that I've seen that's really good too. Honestly, all of them are worth listening to. He's really great. Smart guy. Tapped in a way that in a similar way that, like Richard Rudd's tapped in. Um, like he knows things level.
Great.
There's a guy, Robert Edward Grant. I'm sure you know of him, but he did a whole series with a bunch of people, uh, and he did one with Zach Bush, and Zach Bush was talking about, um, again, transgenderism, but not from what it appears like in society now. He's talking about it from a completely um, non-sociological perspective. It was very spiritual. It was the merger of divine masculine and feminine, and he saw it in nature. He saw like a white lion that was both male and female in Africa, and he was like camping out there, and he witnessed it, and it stared at him, and he like caught eyes with it, and that right there is like what that is. It's not this like chopping off genitals or like doing any of that shit, whatever that whole thing is. It's not that. That's a like a fake attempt to achieve something that's the like divine union, um, in terms of evolution, not in terms of like um s spirituality or sex. It's more in terms of like, yeah, the material manifestation of it, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, um,
You dabble with Zach's Institute of Natural Law.
I don't know if I know what that is. What is
So
it?
basically it's a nonprofit he's made in order to demonstrate his whole ideas of decentralization and mutual empowerment within communities so to lead a more resilient and regenerative system. So it's very interesting. because when you were mentioning about like his own money system, I was kind of like giving it a search to see what I would find.
So that's
And
probably what he was referring to when he was talking about it. I didn't look into it, but that's like that is exactly what it sounds like.
it's very interesting to see like how he practices that. But one of the needs that he's seeing is the concept of shifting from a lot of goal oriented to process oriented businesses and economic structures, which might be in resilience towards a more feminine archetype to emerge in the business world, which is much more sustainable while also keeping in mind like all the other factors that things evolve with. Hence, that he's been a witness to the healthcare system from the ones that are born to the ones that are dead. So every time I see Zach Bush speak, I'm like, this guy has seen so many lifetimes, and he's been
Yeah.
talking from all of them.
Yep.
So he's like, you're being like, he's like the definite. And if you look for integrated in the dictionary, like Zach Bush looks like one of the synonyms for that.
Facts, dude. I saw there's like what was I gonna say? He's been doing really cool stuff. Yeah, with that processing instead of like end goal. And he's not the first. Um, I have a friend that lives over in Austria, and he works for this company that makes uh like those hearing aid things. And he develops like software for it and stuff.
Hmm.
But he was telling me about like the work that they do over there in different parts of the world in that country, like how they structure their projects, especially big projects that have been given like lots of resources. And they don't do it like America has done it. America did it like an example that my buddy gave me was the Big Dig, like which was a disaster of a program and ended up costing taxpayers like an insane amount of money because what they did was like we're going to complete this by the end of 20 something like 2011 or whatever. I don't know when the dates are. But what they did was they set themselves up for failure because they were trying too hard to meet deadlines and in doing so skipped a lot of steps and ended up like having to backtrack a lot of it. So instead of like building it slowly and like letting things kind of percolate in terms of issues and like roadblocks that they had to face and then like dividing resources and putting them towards those roadblocks, they just raced to the end. And it wasn't like like I said, it costed more than it would have if they had done it just from like a more reserved perspective. But that's like how it's just an interesting like connection to our society, especially in America, and how we're like always go 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 go. Um, Whereas like in other parts of the world, it's more like live your life and let things flow.
Yeah, one that doesn't explore other cultures or other places to be completely submerged in those environments and really get that perspective. It's sometimes hard to like fully understand it, even though you can know about it, but to
Yeah.
apply that knowledge is deep, which is why human design always surprises me. I was just looking at the Kara reading he gave me. I don't know how many, maybe 2 years. I forget. It was so long ago.
In a minute. Yeah.
I don't have a date on it, and it was before they had AI like available in Notion, and I'm just running like the key takeaways from this thing, and it's like, wow, educating me on certain habits that I probably adopted as after she pointed out some of these things, particularly like particularly the development of smell and the mastery through practice, the understanding of acceptance from me instead of having to figure things out, just allowing things to kind of transition through.
Is there anything in your chart that you don't resonate with? Are there things that you were like, whatever?
It's a lot
A
because
lot,
it's
right?
so complex.
A lot.
One thing that has been more difficult for me is having gut feelings because that is apparently the best guide on an
Hmm. The
level.
strategy or the authority, right? The
Yeah,
strategy.
and knowing that it's costed me. I don't know if it's related to my alignment or how I've disciplined myself or maybe in my current path, but I've been struggling to fully connect with my gut feeling that when it happens, it's like a miracle and I need to respond to that.
Hmm.
Happened the last time I can even remember it synergizing was when I hadn't visited my partner in a while, and the excitement to go see her again resonated a gut feeling that I could finally pinpoint as a message. And I can track that to the human design analysis that I received, which is fascinating, but also so much gene key knowledge in the solar plexus or the pathway of the heart and opening that. It's almost a concept of how can I put this all in one single database so I can ask the questions that I need for
Hmm.
knowing how arabesque and detailed everything is, because there is a way to communicate that essentially does guide us into a lot of those higher states which you speak of. And understanding that all this information is geared towards, hey, if you know there are things in the unknown that are guiding your thought process more than you think they do, here are some systems that might help DM you without you even knowing. Here's these other processes occurring at once. No, it's not the government. No, it's not this other thing. No, like even deeper than that. There's this whole other coding system that was
Hmm.
built over 2 million years ago before we had these flesh bodies that has been weaving itself in a certain way. And as much as we like to think we're in control, we are way less in control than we think. But we do have an ability to create relationships with it. And this is where it's, oh, is this one of the mediums I can create a better relationship with that? Whether that be a mystery, not just spirituality or religion, but everything like astrology, human design, gene keys, maybe even other forms of religion and Christianity. I'm always, or Carl Jung's archetypes, other forms of psychoanalysis. I'm always venturing to these different ways as language models, to put it in a contemporary AI term, language models to synergize with this relationship that is ongoing in this lifetime, that has been present way before lifetimes were even a thing. So that's my view on it, and hence that there are things in my human design I don't necessarily agree with, but I know that it is an underlying structure that I might not be aware of that is still creating some. It's still in the messaging system.
Hmm. Still in the coding, in the
So,
DNA, in
yeah,
the untapped, or like yeah, kind of like patiently waiting to be expressed almost. I
exactly.
recently uh Katie has been, and Carrie, you know this, I think, been researching into sidereal, which is like a whole nother like branch of astrology, and you can do charts in a different way, and it's a different way to read the cosmos and the alignment of the planets, and it changes your chart because it changes the mathematics of it. So she's just been blowing my mind with that recently. I still accept both, but I also don't accept either at the same time now that I've been exposed to it. Uh, because I've just been told, you're a reflector. These are the things that you need to know about your energy. These are the things you know about yourself. And then it's like, well, I've known that now for like about 2 years, and some of it probably hasn't led me down. Some of it's probably kept me in a box in a way, um, because your ego loves to identify with things. And when it thinks something's to do, it will like compartmentalize it and keep you from expanding. Um, so I'm actually kind of glad that she brought this to my attention and has given me like a secondary chart to look at, uh, because it's like now I don't have to listen to any of it. Or I can listen to some of it and like I can choose, I can almost like pick and choose. But I understand like what my ego is doing to me if I am picking to align with something from it. Um, it's just an interesting perspective now. Uh, yeah, Kara, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the sidereal. I know Katie's explained it to me in like a little bit, like in terms of like what's happening with the cosmos, but I'm wondering what your reflections are of it. And like, I think obviously you may be tied to one more system, so you may have more bias towards that, but like from an objective standpoint, what would be the reason why you would go towards sidereal?
Oh, wow. What a great question this actually is. Her and I had a phenomenal conversation about this actually. And I feel like we're always on the same wavelength. Like, I feel like there's just parts of our chart where we really resonate to each other. And sometimes I feel like we're like getting similar downloads, honestly. Like, we're getting similar information on the same fractal. And like, she'll call me and I have an awakening in thought in like that exact topic that that I was stuck on. And then she'll like, say the same thing. But yeah, like what I expressed was more that I really think a lot of too of what Richard and Ron talk about was that the I Ching actually that the feminine came first, which to me makes sense because the womb of creation, right? The Big Bang, I don't care how you want to look at it, but the darkness that is the yin, you obviously need the yang to add the action, right? The movement. But it's like the sea that everything came from was that nothingness that is the yin. And so Richard talks about how it's possible that the two came first or that the yin came first. And I think when you're looking at Western, like I like to just mention Ptolemy because Ptolemy is how we came to Western astrology. The Egyptians had the decans, and so the decans were 10 degrees. And then we have the Gregorian calendar. Like we've changed time. What the ancients saw in the sky is not what we see today. We think we're moving into the Aquarian age when actually we may be still in the age of Capricorn, which is two totally different vibes, right? Like one is moving towards technology and one is moving towards hard work and things falling down. So both are true because if you think of the all as one, or if you even think of
Yeah.
polarity, both sides I can express as the dark feminine or I can express as the light. And it's really my choice, like how I express, right? And so I feel like for what you're saying, it doesn't matter if it's Western or Vedic. And then you could talk about too, maybe you resonate to some of those because of cultural reasons, and like maybe the culture also is identified in the reading, right? Like maybe what a Vedic astrologer is going to tell you is completely different than what a Western astrologer is going to tell you, I assure you. But there may be resonance between the both of them. And I just feel like the feminine is that spiral. So no matter what, I don't care if you're doing Vedic or Western, you're probably going to get to something that puts you on the right path because you're always in the right place at the right time with the right people. Like, like you're always, if you're in acceptance, you're always where you're supposed to be,
Mm.
basically. Or I mean, you can resist that. But like, I'm not a millionaire yet, if I wanted to be. But I also am acceptance of the fact that I'm not a millionaire. So it's like just, and that's Gene Key 25. And it's like you can see all of this in the I Ching, which is those original 64, which is our genetic code. And like there's so much research that Richard has done and many other people have done that could be articulated more, way better than I'm articulating it. But the feminine as that darkness from which everything manifests, I just feel like a lot of ways that energy is working in ways that we can't even possibly imagine, including the next elevation of the human species when and if that arrives. But that is from within us, right? Because the mutation that happened so that we could speak, that was something that happened within us. And so these things are never happening outside of us. We are the thing that's happening. It's kind of like I really realized that from Ra and Richard. And it's like just seeing these 64 archetypes, I feel like is so profound because it's a language that you learn and then you can see it in everyone. Like you can see it in someone who's speaking about the 64 energies or the archetypes, whatever you want to call them, but they resonate. Like no matter who's speaking on them, I feel the frequency of each of them. And I really follow Richard, Ra, and Karen, and I told Katie I was going to make a Facebook page about this as a joke because it's a synthesis, right? Like I don't want to be dogmatic about any of them. They could all be wrong. It could all be absolute bullshit. It could be like
Yeah.
any other book or thing I've read in my life that's just
Yep.
one frequency, but that's the point, is that we are all self-reflected consciousness of that divine energy, that's manifest through all of us. If we can be a conduit for that, as opposed to just repeating what the person next to us said, it's like, where is your uniqueness and what's being shared? What do you actually resonate to? And then what is the message that's really within you? And how is it differentiated from everyone else?
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm still on that path of differentiation for my own work. But I've really been reading like a lot of human prehistory, and like it's like all the things that I'm reading in prehistory, if you just read a book on prehistory and the chronological order of it, it matches the 64 hexagrams.
That's cool.
Like it just does, gate 16 is the gate of skills because we developed tools, and that was our bows, our arrows, our technology, like we cultivated plants before then. And even when you think about the I Ching, the one became the two became the three became the four, which became the five. And the five is the Wu Shen of TCM. So it's the five elements that we are all made up of, air, earth, water. So if you think about it and you blend all of these systems, which, you have to have like some basis to be able to blend them or synthesize them,
Mm-hmm.
but they all reflect each other. Like, even the Chinese solar calendar reflects itself in the 64 hexagrams, which reflects itself in the solar cycles and in the cross quarter points and, in the solstices. Like these are ancient things. These have been around way before any of us. So it's like, I love that Katie's kind of saying, what's really in the sky, because a lot of people are saying like, hey, what's really in the sky? Not like what we've been subscribing to for however long, at least I don't even know how old Ptolemy is, but that is predates, I would say, much of Western astrology, which also was from the Greeks. And so all of these different pantheons, they all actually are the same. It's all Hermetics. It's all the Vedas. The three, the Christ consciousness, the Vedas, Hinduism, Buddhism. All of these themes, these 64 themes, are present in all of the religions too. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's really like mind blowing when you can actually see the connections between all of them and see that they're really all one.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the 64. The 64 are actually just one. And then everything is like a mirror of itself in the yin and the yang. So I love the idea of sidereal, but I really feel like in a way like it's all the dark feminine, or it's all whatever you want to call that.
Yep. It's like the potential for life.
Yeah.
Like this,
Or I
like,
guess, is that the 0.2? Like it's like,
yep.
0 point
Yeah.
fields?
What'd you say, Wicks?
Like the 0 point fields, you mean?
Yeah.
Ah,
All potential possibility happening and like just yet to be manifest.
Yeah.
oh, that definition of it. Yes. Honestly, it's happening right. I mean, it's evident. It's evident that it's happening right now. What practices do we use to create a relationship with it? That's what I was saying before, where you can get easily submerged in digging many holes into trying to understand that relationship and not find any water, yet to know that the water you were looking for was always within you the whole time. All you were looking was for ways to translate it. And it relates to how deep can we listen, what rituals, what systems, because I have to put it in the way we humanly know now in our urban environment and social conditioning. What systems and habits do we have in place to always go back to that relationship and allow from going from there into our discovery with others who might see things in a different way, but remind us of those points of origin, or reminds us of how bonded that love with that relationship is. And if not love, respect. If not respect, a massive amount of divine fear, to know that we have to tread carefully with what's around us. So the first shadow in the Gene Key, the numbness, can like fade away, being like, yeah, you see this veil that we're putting in the ego, like if you let that away, you feel really insecure. But notice how alive you feel now, understanding how majestic everything around you really is.
Mm-hmm.
To operate at that level at all times puts too much sensory information. So we always like simplify it and create symbols and then different ways for this relationship to just prosper. And this is why Kalman's breath work is one of them, to like get close to just the simplicity of what happens when you hold your breath and you slow down. How deep can you slow down? And that's one of the small puzzle pieces that can conform to this whole system that we create throughout the day. How affectionate we are to somebody and express genuine love and affection. How observant we are in how we create a relationship with past. Once we understand all these devices and symbols that we do to navigate how majestic this field is, and understanding that it's always occurring, can we value the present at that state and carry it as best as possible with that respect and honor until we totally forget about it? Because I love how Paul Chek puts it. It's like you don't necessarily know who you are, and you only find out by moving forward with it. At the end of your lifetime, the mask is going to go away, and then you're going to be reminded of what it was. But then once you have to come into another lifetime, you have to drink from the well of forgetfulness and start over again and have to rediscover that origin in a new way.
Wait, what was it again? You don't know who you are until you move forward with it, right?
Well, this lifetime is essentially
So
a way for us to kind of discover each other, just interact with what's around us.
I heard another quote recently that was like, darkness doesn't is light that doesn't know itself. Which connects to that.
Powerful.
It's kind of cool.
It is. It
You
does
know,
connect well. And it's the same concept. In this level of reality, there's dualities. We need polarities to just make sense of things. And what I love what Kara's talking about is how no matter what language you learn that talks about any esoteric or things from different areas, if you can always trace it back to this really dense sense of unity, you, in my interpretation, I see it creates more languages to implement into your day-to-day living that adhere to the beautiful mystery of life that is always present. But to do that, I need to slow down so deep. And then in the infiniteness of that's what's occurring right now, make it a meditation and infuse it into an action that goes with it. And then also get completely lost in chaos again and see it as that dance. And this will never end until this lifetime is over and the mask gets taken away. And all of a sudden is, oh, I remember now. And I believe that's one of the things that happened to Ra. And something chose Ra to be one of those people that gets revealed and entirely like, yeah, an entire the way I love the way he said it. He said it, I was just like a bear that got like found in the wild and we got put a chip inside of it and now they just come in and check every now and then. Which is like, yeah, we're in the wild right now, but there's other things that are very, very powerful and fascinating occurring at all times. To tap into that for me is puts into perspective a lot of the things that hold me back and also illuminates the things that are moving me forward. But that's about it. This is why I like human design or gene keys and all that.
mm-hmm.
Just put it in my intention and communicate with myself better. Put that with breath as well and calculate it with music. And there's still a lot in my journey that I would love to internalize. So honestly, one of the reasons why I've been with you since I met you, Kalman, because finding people I could resonate maybe in that language or in that uh, curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
it perpetuates that curiosity and appreciation for the unknown whenever that I'm also in a perception of like, well, what is being sold to me from this person? Or I grew up a completely different thing. My parents come from this model of reality.
Mm-hmm.
That is very fascinating. And to interact with other individuals who are willing to expand and see it in different directions is also expanding yourself. Maybe somebody can chime in on that too. That's my history. That's my story. I hope it illuminates.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to, I mean, you mentioned a little bit about or you just ended with expansion. And I just want to share something that came up for me this past week, uh, because I was at the gym and I was nasal breathing with my nostrils and my airway wide open, as slowly as I could after my workout, and I just got like mad downloads. And I was thinking about kind of like all the times that I've had ego deaths, and the ego has been coming up for me like a lot lately because it is that voice that's like behind the curtain. But it's also like it's a defense mechanism. It's what keeps you alive. It's your identity. It's yourself. You need it to survive. If you don't have it, you just won't exist. Um, so it's like a relationship with the self. But what I was thinking about was all the times that, like I said, that I've had ego deaths. And in those moments that I've had ego deaths, it's almost like there's psychosis building or like a form of complete chaos, um, where the mind is almost grasping at straws to find attachment towards something. The ego is like, because all of the characteristics of the self have been dissolved in those moments, the physiological response is sometimes like can drive anxiety, can drive fear, can drive like the heart rate to increase, the brain waves to start to speed up. Uh, a lot of the people that can't handle an ego death end up with almost like mental issues or breathing patterns. And it was just something that like kind of clicked for me in the moment. It just made me it made sense in my mind because I've gone through ego deaths and what helped me in those moments. This is before I even knew about oxygen advantage, the breathing, any of that stuff. I would have to manually take over my body and breathe slower because I knew I was like some stuff was happening in my mind. My mind was splitting and melting. And it wasn't until I took myself out of my set and setting, was alone, took care of myself, slowed down my breathing, did my mind finally settle after all that chaos, and then want to start to bring things back together and pick up from the cosmos. It was like the all of that stuff had dissipated, but it needed to fill it back up again. And it was through a slow breath that allowed me to bring in more energy. Um, and I guarantee that most people that would have this form of ego death, and I was at the time combining psychedelics with music, with a festival, with all this stuff, and doing a lot of internal work using those tools, uh, that triggered those responses. You can have them on a very slower timeline, like you can have them over a course of 3 or 4 weeks without psychedelics, and I've done that as well. But just like sharing this micro experience because I think it's uh, important to recognize how the breath influences the mind, the ego, and brain waves. When we slow down our brain waves, we can process things faster and we can make new neural connections. We can make stronger neural connections and we can integrate them into our being, our body, and then our life. So just something I wanted to share because it like came to me pretty like this stuff happens to me actually quite a lot. I don't always share it. I should share it more. Sometimes I forget about
Yeah,
it, but like
you're welcome to.
no, I do when I can when it comes up and I remember, but like when we're participating in working out or doing breath work or like slowing our brain waves down, that's when we start to receive energy through the brain, through the higher chakras. It's through through our cerebral cortex, through our spine, through our 12 cranial nerves that we receive information from the universe, from the what's called the Akashic, was it Akashic Ocean? Akashic, yeah.
Records, I believe.
Yeah, Akashic Records. It's it's the feminine. So like when we receive information through the universe and we get all these downloads, quote unquote downloads, it's because we've set ourselves up for it and we've done some sort of work to get there. You can get there without doing the work, but you might not be able to integrate it. And that's some of the hardest parts of
Explain that part.
spiritual work is like bringing it down the spine, bringing it down into the material world, bringing it down to the self. Uh, I think that's where a lot of people get kind of confused because you can get almost stuck up in that space. You can get almost like addicted to getting downloads and forget that it takes time to bring things down and you gotta do the actual work um, with determination and love. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been doing as much breath work. Well, I mean, I've been doing a lot of Taoist bone breathing. I've been
What's
doing
that?
this. So it's bone breathing or bone washing, and basically you are breathing in chi through your fingertips, through your toes, and then you are compressing the chi by visualizing it through your fingers, and then you go through every part of your body. So it's
Mm.
about a 30-minute meditation.
Mm.
But after doing this now for a few months, I literally experience bliss body in the midst of these meditations and it just spontaneously happens where I'm like, oh shit, okay. Um, and it's amazing. And I'm working on a guide now, like just a simple guide for free to share with people because I love it so much.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just been such a profound practice for me. And I don't know how I would maybe bring breath work into it, but um, yeah, just really connecting with that and going through the whole body and actually connecting with the glands, like the hormone glands, like thinking about my pineal gland, thinking about my thalamus, like thinking about what actually is contained in those things and like what hormones are actually activated in them. And then going through this process, it's really had me thinking more about, like dopamine and oxytocin and like how many hugs am I getting a day? How many hugs am I giving a day? Like all of these like different things. But yeah, have just really I feel like this is my dedicated practice is this bone breathing practice and I've really connected deeply with it. It's the practice itself is like you're focusing on the water element within your body, you're focusing on the bones, and so you're actually breathing into the bones.
Mm.
And it feels like at some point your body is like breathing as one. You kind of get
Yeah, whole
your
body
hands
breathing.
to breathe as one, and then you get your arms to breathe as one, and like you literally feel your body coming online, and then it feels like a pulsing. um and it's just a really beautiful practice, so I've
That's
been doing
yeah.
that for yeah
That
for a
pul-
few
that
months.
that pulsing that you're mentioning, that's the brain waves. And I was talking about this in one of my recent classes with Connor and Wiggs and a couple other guys. Uh, from my experience doing some cranial sacral meditations and talking with the guys that do them, there's like three different waves that happen. And they go deeper and deeper and they take longer to actually like the waveform is over a longer period of time. And you feel it within your energy, you feel it within your spine, you feel it in your brain waves. And so like the first one is like relatively short. It's about 20 minutes or so, 15 to 20 minutes to like basically start to activate alpha brain waves. You can do that through the breath, but you can also do that through relaxation and touch. Uh, and then the next one's about an hour. It's about 60 minutes. And then, oh wait, yeah, the second one maybe between anywhere between 30 and 60 minutes, and then the final one's after that. But it's like it depends on the person, obviously, but these brainwave states is like that's like kind of what I was thinking about when you mentioned it. It's you definitely get just like deeper and deeper into full body breathing and full body moving. You feel this wave and it really hits you, it hits your spine. Uh, and it's extremely healthy. It's like tapping into that energy is really profound. I use a in the classes that I teach, I use cranial nerve stabilization using a stick in between the teeth, little
Yep.
tiny craft stick right here. And that
Yep.
helps a lot. Um, but that's cool. Thanks for mentioning that. That's awesome. I'm always interested in like different types of breathing methods.
Oh, dude,
Speaking of
did I
what?
tell you I went to do hot Pilates for the first time 2 days ago, all with a stick.
Nice.
The entire thing with just a stick and just pure nasal breathing. And then yesterday I did CrossFit for the first time.
Damn.
And everything just pure nasal breathing through like some of the most intense things. And then 15-second recovery, I was literally just doing cadence for 10 sets, 15-second recoveries, like 45 seconds on, 15's off, and
Mhm.
another 15 is just like doing cadence while feeling like my heart was gonna jump out and resisting having to breathe through them.
Were you sweating like crazy?
Yeah, everybody was.
Yep.
But I'm thoroughly impressed of how much discipline I've acquired through your practice. And
Mhm.
so,
Yeah, I
I
love
mean,
it.
I'm sniffing a freaking inhaler right now. So
I got mine.
continue.
I was gonna mention, Kara, I'm gonna do bi-monthly, so like two a month meditations for free. I'm gonna start just like advertising those. I'm doing like a school. I'm still figuring out some of the logistics behind the website itself. It's freaking confusing, but I'm gonna launch that stuff soon. You're welcome to join those meditations. Gonna do
Yeah,
try and do like I'm gonna try and align them with the full and the new moons. Um,
love
just
that.
just to kind of like, yeah, it'll be fun. Gonna
Yeah,
do
awesome.
a lot of breathing, a lot of binaural beats, a lot of brainwave stuff. Uh, I've been finding that over the past 2 years, my meditations just keep getting better and better, and then I just need to share them. Like it's gotten to a point where it's like, all right, more people need to hear this. Um, it's I'm doing them from such an open place too. Like I honestly rarely plan them. I might plan like concepts in my head, but I don't write anything out. I just kind of I'm the conduit for it. It's fun. Yeah. We're hitting an hour right now. I've been on
Yeah.
calls like all day, so I might wrap it up, guys.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I have to go actually. I have another call, just a work call, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was great just to connect with everyone, and I appreciate you just taking the time to reflect what you caught or what what
Yeah.
resonated from that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll still listen to the last 10 minutes of it too, because I'm curious now. So I'll definitely give that a listen. I'll let you know if there's anything else that comes up too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, would love to be a part of your meditation. Definitely let me know when they're happening. I'm in.
Cool. Will do. Absolutely. Connor, before I close it out, if there's anything you want to mention or talk about, or even if you just enjoyed it, feel free to talk about it now. Otherwise,
I
yeah.
just enjoyed it.
Nice, man. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Glad you're here catching it in the background. Yeah, sweet. Okay, guys, I'm out. Peace and love.
Bye,
So much,
everyone.
Tara. So nice
Later.
to see
So
you.
nice to
Bye.
see you.
Bye.